Hey everybody, welcome to episode 27 of the Rollout Show.
27.
That is the
That's a
Scott
lot.
Rowland episode. You have no idea who that is, but he's my favorite baseball player of all time. The best defensive third baseman of all time, in my opinion. But I also never saw Brooks Robinson play, so just saying.
What a great open to the show. Just start us off immediately in baseball hell.
Okay, so speaking of baseball, we gotta talk a little
You're not
bit.
even gonna do an intro?
I mean, we're kind of there. I mean, you made a perfect segue for me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Bradley. Today we're gonna talk about baseball and football and stuff. There
you go. We're gonna talk about sports today. So if you're looking for a podcast on makeup removal or pop culture, probably not your show.
Unless you consider sports pop culture.
True. I kind of do. So I don't know why I said that, but that's my bad.
Yeah, I don't either.
Idiot. My bad. I'm just
So
trying.
speaking of the Emmys, man, how about Handmaid's Tale? Really ran away with the awards there last night, didn't it? I don't think the Emmys were last night.
They weren't last night.
I actually think they were like a week ago.
They were like a week ago, and I don't even know what you were talking about. I've never heard of it.
Handmaid's Tale?
Never heard of it.
It was a Hulu original that won best... What did it win? It might have won best series or something. I don't know, man.
Never heard of it.
I'm transitioning us to pop culture. Am I doing a good job?
I mean, I know a decent amount about pop culture, I thought, but apparently not.
Hulu original.
Okay,
Get
well...
with it. It's because you don't have Hulu, right?
No, because they were charging us more than we were supposed to be charged, so we cut it.
What do you mean they were charging you more than you were supposed to be charged?
Like, no, they cut our, service and we weren't getting it, and then they were still charging us.
Well, that wasn't very smart of you. Maybe you should have checked your credit card statement.
We did, and we told them to stop charging us, and they kept charging us, and then we finally got it fixed, and we're like, okay, we're just done with Hulu.
Oh, well, sounds like
Bad customer service there, Hulu. Anyway.
If it's any consolation, I'm a longtime user of Hulu. Big fan.
I liked it when I had it, but,
Better
not
than
enough
Netflix. Controversial statement. Better than Netflix.
Anyway, let's get to baseball, which is better than Netflix and Hulu.
Ew.
Anyway, so we got to talk about Derek Jeter. Again, showing that he doesn't know what he's doing.
What are you talking about? He's great.
He's the best owner of all time, isn't he?
Yep.
You know what I really feel bad
Captain.
for? The captain of a sinking ship, apparently. So I feel bad for Marlins fans. I'm sorry to all you Marlins fans. From a fan of a different team, I apologize. Because y'all have had some crap to deal with. Your first owner did a fire sale right after you won the World Series. And then Jeffrey Loria came in. You're like, oh, okay, this may get better. Some higher payrolls. Not, he had a fire sale after y'all won the World Series. So now you bring in Bruce Sherman and Derek Jeter. You're like, oh, history of winning. Derek Jeter, champion. Oh, this is going to be really good. And now he seems to be the worst of the three. Already.
What evidence is there of that?
Him paying himself a salary that is exorbitant for a position he's never done before, and then cutting payroll to literally $20 million less than the next lowest team. That's his goal. That's his goal from good sources.
Has he publicly said that?
He's publicly said that to the other owners in the ownership group.
So he hasn't publicly said that.
He hasn't said that out to the public. No.
Did you just say? Wait. Let's hold on a second.
Okay.
He
said
really,
that
no,
it is out in the public.
Freeze. Did I ask you? I asked if he said it publicly, and you legit just said he publicly said it to a private group. Did you really just try and spin that on me?
I kind of misunderstood the question. Already had my response in there, and then I just kind of rolled with it.
We don't know that.
His
that statement is
goal
true.
is...
Freeze. You wait till I finish, mister. You already lied to me.
I did not lie.
We only have it on source reporting.
Yes.
That he said that. Okay. Just, it's not confirmed. It's according.
Well, it's
to
not
sources.
confirmed until it happens, and it's not the off season yet,
or until
so.
he says it. Right.
Right, and even if he says
Or
it doesn't
part of
mean it's
that
going to
ownership
happen.
Says it. Yeah.
Because I mean, Stanton can. It's really based on, is he going to trade Stanton and everybody else? And if Stanton says no, you're not trading me, then he can't get the payroll down that low anyway.
If that team had some pitching, they'd be pretty good.
I mean, not to bring it back to sad times, but I mean, the loss of Jose Fernandez really. I mean, he was pretty much their rotation because they had him and a bunch of other guys who could fill the rest of your rotation, but he was arguably one of the best pitchers in baseball. So, yep.
Got to take us back there again, huh?
That's kind of, they don't have any starting pitching. That offense is superb, but that's really, fortunately, had to take you back there. But anyway, Jeter has said to the other owners, and that's leaked out in the media, that he wants to... Reportedly,
thank you.
But it has leaked out to the media.
Reportedly. Let's keep some credibility here. Reportedly.
Wants to slash payroll to $55 million next season. From $115 this season.
Where's the R word you're looking for?
You've already said it.
Where you need to say it, though, because you gave the info.
Reportedly...
Thank you. We're good. All journalistic integrity is intact. What did I see today about him wanting to fire 4 people? What was it?
Actually, he's firing 4 special assistants, so they're more like, kind of consultants to the front office, but they've all been there like a really long time.
Like a Jerry West role.
Yeah, exactly. Like Jerry West.
Yeah.
Great example.
Thank you.
Firing former manager Jack McKeon, Jeff Conine, Mr. Marlin, who's also on their TV broadcasts, Hall of Famers Andre Dawson and Tony Perez. And Tony Perez has basically been there since the start. He's really big in like branching out towards the community and everything. So he's really a public figure for them.
Do we know why they fired these consultants other than to save money?
Other than that, and just basically cleaning house is what seems like.
He just wants all of his own people. Seems like
that's pretty much it.
And I mean, that's not a horrible strategy in sports, to be fair to Jeter. Like, this is a strategy that we see work a lot in sports, is you clean house and you're real bad for a while and then you get good. It's what the Browns are trying to do, right?
Right.
Where you get rid of literally everyone involved with the organization and start over. That's the idea Jeter's having, I suppose.
Yes. The main issue I have with this is the president of the Marlins, David Sampson. He was told his contract's not going to be renewed and he's out of there when Jeter takes over. He's having David Sampson fire them instead of firing him himself.
Yeah, well,
or when the new ownership group takes over. So he's having the old president fire the people he's wanting to fire, so he comes in there. That's my main issue with this. Like, I can understand Jack McKeon's like 90 years old. He loves the Marlins. He's come back 2 different times to manage the team when they've been in a bind, and he won a World Series in 2003. Like, good on him. He's really adored down there. Same with Andre Dawson and Tony Perez, and Jeff Conine's nickname is literally Mr. Marlin. Like, he's the heart and soul of that organization. So, I mean, I can understand, like, trying to save a little bit of payroll here and there. Maybe they weren't doing a whole heck of a lot, or at least they thought, but you at least have to do it yourself.
I agree, but it seems like a pretty minor offense compared to how egregious you're making it seem. It's a bad look, I agree, but is it the worst thing in the world? Like, wanting to significantly cut payroll is way worse than this.
That's just, it's all kind of ties in together because those are basically, the Marlins are a pretty young franchise. Those are the icons of the franchise.
Yeah, but if you have 4 guys who aren't really doing anything but are making a paycheck, I wouldn't want to pay those people. And we don't know what they're
doing.
Their roles.
Right. They're like all special advisors and special assistants. Right. So they're like working in the front office, or
because we
like
know
Andre Dawson's more like community outreach, stuff like that, and working with the front office. It's more like, some public appearances and everything, consulting work, all that good stuff. Like every team has.
Right. But we know, just to go back to my previous example, Jerry West does significant work
Oh yeah,
to earn his paycheck. Yes, community outreach is important, but
they
we don't know how much he's making, right?
right.
Like,
We don't know
he
how much
could
these
be-
guys are making or Jerry West is making.
They could all be way overpaid. Whatever Jerry West is making is not enough. Every place he goes, he just turns that place into a dynasty.
Well, that's kind of what goes on here. Like from what I've understood is like they do some different recruiting as well with like free agents and everything. So it's like similar roles, but it's just every team
but
has them.
how successful have they been at getting free agents then?
It's really they've been pretty successful. It's just what happens with those free agents a year after they've been in Miami when they get traded off to Toronto.
I understand your point, but my thing is like if I was the new boss of an organization and I saw some fat I thought I could trim, I would trim it. Especially if it seems like he is going to be legitimately concerned about money and want to keep everything under budget. And maybe this could be a good thing. Maybe now there's a little extra wiggle room for the roster and the players. Like I'd rather be paying Giancarlo Stanton than a community outreach consultant. That's just me.
Well, no, like if it's like that's all it was, then I get it. But
because you can hire community managers that make $50,000 a year.
They already have those people,
right? So what do you? I understand you need a face, but do you need a face that's on the payroll?
They're like multifaceted, like people in there. It's just that's the thing. Like I'm with you. I'd rather pay players than those guys. Like exactly, But if it's just more a bad look because
I agree, it's a bad look.
Because also the fact that he's paying himself $5 million too when he owns the franchise anyway. Which
sounds like a smart move.
Yeah, it's owning your own business 101. You pay yourself first, right?
Absolutely.
An exorbitant salary, you pay yourself first. Yeah, I got you.
How else do you make money? I agree it's a bad look, but I don't think it's as egregious as it.
It adds to the whole dinner course of what's been reported, and it's just not.
But I do think, I mean, this deal is basically done, right? Derek Jeter will be the face of the ownership group that owns the Marlins. Might as well give him a chance now because he's going to be there whether you like it or not.
Pretty much. I mean, not that I'm not giving him a chance. It's just everything because I mean, it's not like he's come out and disputed anything that's been reported either. He's kind of just let it ride.
Yeah, but he's not a guy that would. He's a guy that doesn't say anything publicly. So even if some ridiculous rumor in the media came out about him, I could easily see him just not responding to it.
Well, because he used to in the media, like when he was a player, he would shrug stuff off with jokes and everything. But
he wouldn't say anything. Is my point. Like he perfected the whole giving a 20-minute interview and
never saying anything.
Giving no
NFL,
information.
The Chuck Pagano.
Yeah, giving absolutely no information because he doesn't like giving information to the public. He's a very secluded, private person. You gotta give Jeter a chance.
I am. It's just like I just feel bad for those fans.
If I'm a Marlins fan, I'm irritated, but you gotta give him a chance. Like, there's no way he can be significantly worse than Jeffrey Lurie, right? So
Loria.
What did I say? Loria. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah,
I was almost there.
I get them confused all the time because when I first heard that Jeffrey Lurie owned the Philadelphia Eagles, I was like, wow, I didn't know he owned the Marlins and the Eagles.
Oh, really? There's a guy named Jeffrey Lurie?
Yeah, he owns the Eagles.
The Eagles?
Yep.
Oh, that's real good.
And Jeffrey Loria is, I guess, now the former owner of the Marlins. So there you go.
Know that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, fun facts with Weston.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll give him a chance. It's just I feel bad for those fans because I know if I was a diehard Marlins fan and you have Giancarlo Stanton, who's really the face of the franchise right now, and then it's basically like you're just going to trade him to cut payroll.
Well, and you have good perspective because you come from a position that I don't understand of being a diehard fan of a team with a horrible ownership group.
Oh, right? Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Weston is from Missouri, and until the team moved, he was a diehard Rams fan, and he had to deal with Kroenke. and now the team's gone and crushed his spirits, and now he doesn't have a team in the NFL, which is very sad for all of us. I want him to root for my Packers, but what you're thinking about the Dolphins, huh? Maybe in Twitter.
Yeah.
Tell Weston who you think he should root
Actually,
for.
reach out to me. Reach out to us on Twitter and tell me who you think I should root for. I'm looking at Dolphins, Chiefs,
Raiders,
Jaguars. I don't like the Raiders moving to Vegas. I think it's a good move for them, but it's kind of like almost seems hypocritical to me to stop rooting for the Rams because they moved and then root for a team that is leaving their city too.
Well, the difference being that you rooted for the Rams because of where they were from originally, and you root for the Raiders because of the players they have,
right?
And the whole appeal and stigma of the Raiders,
the silver and black.
Yeah,
exactly. So I'm an NFL free agent. Just letting you all know.
Feel free to recruit Weston at the Rollout show.
So I do know what it's like. Excuse me, to be a fan of a team with pretty bad ownership.
Horrible ownership.
Yeah, I try to clean it up, but I mean, he's a good owner for himself because he makes himself some money. So I mean,
a lot of money.
He makes himself a lot of money with all the different teams he owns.
And I guess in the end, what us as fans don't like to think about and realize is that's the end goal.
Right.
Regardless of the franchise, and except for in some very rare circumstances,
like Detroit Tigers, New England Patriots,
or even one that isn't working out, Washington Redskins.
Oh, he wants to win. Jerry Jones.
Dan Snyder wants to win more than any other owner in football because he's a diehard Redskins fan.
Yeah.
He was a longtime fan of the Redskins who happened to get very rich and he bought the team. And he can't win. So that isn't always the case, but basically it's always the case.
Yeah, there's like the few franchises. I'd throw the Steelers in there too.
The Packers are publicly owned.
Right. So it's more about, for some teams, it's more about winning, but then also in some instances, those teams are going to make money regardless. Like Steelers, so historic, they're going to make money. The Cowboys are going to make money. You know, teams like that. But there are some teams out there like Mike Ilitch, you know, the late Mike Ilitch owned the Detroit Tigers, and his son owns the team now, but he would take a loss a lot of seasons, but he wanted to keep the team competitive and win, I mean, for the sake of the city of Detroit, because Detroit was hurting.
Now, you say take a loss.
He did take an operating loss.
Yes, I understand that. Technically, Dan Gilbert took an operating loss this year with the Cavaliers.
I know. I'm just saying at the bottom line at the end of the season, he lost millions of dollars because, you know, he paid luxury tax payments and different things of that nature.
He didn't lose
We don't have to get technical about it, but he also let General Motors keep their advertisement up there when they didn't have enough money to pay. He did stuff like that. He didn't charge some people for the community.
And
yes.
I know the Tigers are a classy organization. I wasn't doubting. I just have a problem with you implying that these billionaires are willingly giving up millions of dollars when we all know good and well that by paying really good players in the luxury tax, like the luxury tax is a good example. You're paying into the luxury tax. Yeah, that's going to cost you for that season, but having better players makes your franchise worth more, right? Objectively.
In some cases,
when
yes.
If the Rockets didn't have James Harden and Chris Paul, it wouldn't have sold for, what did it sell for? $2
billion, but $2 billion. I mean, they're also in a large market too.
But it wouldn't have sold for $2 billion. That's all. If the Rockets weren't a competitor, it would not have sold for $2 billion.
Probably not. No, but I mean that's like why the Clippers. Part of it was they're competitive and they're in a large market. And Steve Ballmer was really itching to get a franchise because he kept losing out on franchises. Because like a year prior, the Milwaukee Bucks sold for $500 million.
The L.A. and New York are the only cases where they're gonna sell, but
because I mean Houston's a big market in its own right. It's the fifth largest market. So.
But here's the thing: the Knicks are the most valuable franchise in basketball,
right? But they'd easily go for like $3 billion right now.
But if they had really good players, they'd be worth more. That's all my point.
Yeah,
like yes, if you pay into the luxury tax to keep LeBron James, it's gonna hurt your bottom line for that season, but your franchise is worth more because you have LeBron James. That's my only point.
Yeah, unless the contracts like become burdensome. Like
I just don't want to make this case where these poor owners are losing money
I'm just
I don't
saying he
like-
was very charitable because he didn't.
Yes, that's very good. The GM thing shows he really cared about the community of Detroit and stuff.
And I mean, he signed, traded for Miguel Cabrera, then signed him to a large extension. Went out and got the big name players, big name free agents, and everything. Where other cities,
those are great examples of him being good. I think having an operating loss is not an example of an owner being charitable. That's my only point. The GM thing's great. The Miguel Cabrera thing's great.
I just happen to disagree with you.
Dan Gilbert is not paying LeBron James $40 million for the community.
It's not the same.
So his franchise
it's not the same situation as Dan Gilbert, though. It's a different situation from back then to now. Because Dan Gilbert wants to win. He's going there to win. It's all that. He knows he has LeBron James. So yes, he took a loss, but he also has one of the premier franchises that's everybody's always watching them. I just say it's a different situation from back then in Detroit with what Illich did, because it's not like Dan Gilbert's well, I'll just give this to you. Or, well, I really don't necessarily, for my bottom line, it's not this good to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want something for Detroit to rally around. Dan Gilbert's not doing that. Dan Gilbert's I got a chance to win. I really want to win, so I'm going for it. And also, LeBron James wants to be here, so sweet. So I just think it's two different situations.
Okay, no, that's probably fair.
So anyway, the NL wildcard race.
Argument.
I know. You had to go in operating loss.
I just
doesn't make him a good person.
I don't like glorifying someone for being a good person when they're really benefiting themselves more than anybody. We can debate whether that was the Tigers situation or not. That's almost always the situation, though. The Tigers could have been an exception. I don't know the situation well enough. All I'm saying is 99% of the time in that situation, the owner's doing it to benefit themselves. That was my point. We can move on, though. Useless argument.
Yes, it was. Thank you for taking us there.
No problem.
So the NL wildcard race, we have a lot of teams all bunched up together here. The Rockies hanging on by a thread right now, trying to fend off the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals. So, do you have any insight on who you think is going to take the NL wildcard?
Not that isn't just regurgitated from people on ESPN. I have no original thoughts about this one. Okay. Ask me about the World Series and I'll chime in. But you take the wild card away.
Honestly, it's going to be tough because it's really some entertaining baseball right now. If you watch the Cardinals and Pirates last night, Cardinals rallied back after giving up the lead, rallied in the ninth inning off of Felipe Rivero, one of the best closers in baseball. Then you had the Brewers and Cubs facing each other because the Brewers are still gunning for the division, but it's looking like the Cubs are going to end up, taking the division. So the Brewers and Cardinals are playing for the wild card, but Brewers and Cubs tied last night 4-4. Cubs end up winning the game. And then you have the Rockies really reeling right now. They're playing some pretty bad teams and not faring well against them, not scoring a run against the Padres the other night. They may end up losing the series against the Padres. And the Cardinals and Brewers may end up sneaking in there and taking it from the Rockies and end up facing the Diamondbacks. And it's also tough because you never know what they're going to do, but the Dodgers and Rockies play the last series of the year. And the Dodgers last year against the Giants sat everyone and basically threw the last 3 games to go into the playoffs and end up getting the Giants into the wild card at the expense of the Cardinals and I forget the other team that was gunning, but it was mainly the Cardinals that lost out on it because they were lost by a game, and the Giants ended up making the wild card game. And honestly, that may end up happening this year, but I'm picking the Cardinals.
Full disclosure, Weston is a St. Louis Cardinals fan.
I am, but also it's partly because of the scheduling. I could easily see the Brewers getting in there, but the Cardinals and Brewers face off.
It's the heart.
It's the heart.
It's the heart, man.
It's just they're playing some really good baseball, but honestly, I could see the Brewers getting in there and the Rockies. But it's just they're all so close. You can't really predict what's going to happen just with these games going on, but I'm going partly with the heart with the Cardinals. but I'm also going to Cardinals and Brewers in a few days. So that will really decide the playoffs. And I mean, the Brewers are a very good team. So it really depends on who wins that series, Cardinals and Brewers, who makes the playoffs. And I mean, the Rockies really hold their own destiny, but they really have to win out at this point.
Wow.
Yep.
All right then.
It's a very convoluted argument.
That.
So, who you have winning the World Series?
Give me the Indians. You know, they got really good pitching right now. Corey Kluber, you know, best pitcher in baseball since June 1st. I heard that from someone on ESPN.
Yeah. So, you picking Kluber for the Cy Young?
I don't know, because who else is in the running? Chris Sale.
Chris Sale. It's really Kluber and Sale.
Well, and the Red Sox had a really good year this year too, because they just clinched their playoff spot, right?
Yeah, they did. But if you look at Corey Kluber had a really rough first month of the year and then was injured, and he came back around June 1st, and he's already matched Sale in like every category. Because Sale was running away with it, and then Kluber came back.
I don't know. They'll probably give it to the Indians just because of their crazy win streak and winning like 27 out of 28 games.
I think it should. I think it should go to Kluber. Don't get me wrong. Chris Sale had an amazing year, but if you look at last season as an example, people turning their votes in early, and Rick Porcello won the Cy Young last year. And this year, for instance, Rick Porcello has 17 losses on a winning Red Sox team. So, yeah, he had more wins than Verlander. Every other category, Verlander was pretty far ahead. So, we'll see what happens this year. The voters may have to make up for past mistakes.
Wow, good dead air here, Mr.
I know.
Host. Excellent job, Mr. Host.
Thank you. So, I was just spacing out because I was thinking about Clemson Tigers and Dabo Sweeney.
Dabo!
Making the playoffs, hopefully this year. That's what it's looking like.
So the Tigers, we both had questions about coming into this year. We thought Dabo was a good coach, but he's had one of the best quarterbacks in college the last few years. You know, was his success off the back of Deshaun Watson? Like we see in college football where a coach will get a really good quarterback and ride the quarterback to a championship, aka Tim Tebow at UF, Cam Newton at Auburn. I mean, we've seen it happen. And this team is still really good. Kelly Bryant, I think is his name, their new quarterback. He's really good. They took it to Louisville last week in a game that we previewed on the show. And I thought Louisville had a good shot to win because Lamar Jackson was playing out of his mind, but he did not play particularly amazingly in that game. Clemson is for real, and I think by proxy, Dabo Sweeney's for real. Great recruiter, can coach him up. That defense is really good. It's impressive. I thought they were going to have a step back this year, and so far they look just as good as they did last year.
I think you're starting to see that Dabo Sweeney is an elite coach, and it's starting to come down to Saban and Dabo are at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Harbaugh's there. You have to put Jim Harbaugh there, just out of respect. We'll see in a few years. I think the guy who's fallen off the most recently is Urban Meyer.
Meyer is starting to slip a little bit.
And it happened quickly. I mean, this happens in college football because of the nature of recruiting, and how important getting those top recruits are in college football. And Urban Meyer, maybe he doesn't have the players. He doesn't have the quarterback. Everyone thought he had the quarterback. He's had great teams there, and he's coached them to great success. But maybe he's not the coach we always thought he was. I mean, that championship team was really, really good. But it also had a lot of pro talent.
And it also had some guys who were already there as well that he inherited too. And honestly, if you've looked at his career, he's never really stayed at anywhere a very long time to really tell whether he has had lightning in the bottle for a few years, a couple years, a couple good recruiting classes, and then just kind of fell off because he had the situation at Florida Tebow left.
Well, I mean, even Utah.
Utah, he left early.
He had like one really, really good year. He parlayed that into the UF job where he got Tim Tebow and won a couple titles with Tebow, who may not be a great NFL quarterback or wasn't a great NFL quarterback. Now he's a baseball player, but he is one of the genuinely best all-time college quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
He got a couple titles with him. Then he left with heart issues, quote unquote. I don't want to, you don't call a man a liar in his medical issues and stuff, but it was weird how he happened to have health issues as soon as his team wasn't good anymore.
And how quickly he recovered from said health issues when Ohio State threw the check out there.
And then he goes to Ohio State. He's got great teams with Braxton Miller and all the talent around him. He has his first year where they're not eligible to go to a bowl game, even though they go undefeated or one loss. I don't remember.
I thought they had one loss.
But they had a good chance to go to the championship game if they weren't under NCAA sanctions. Then his second year, that was the Cardale Jones year, right? Where Braxton Miller gets hurt, JT Barrett comes in, JT Barrett gets hurt, and then Cardale Jones wins the title. And that was a great year. But every year since then has been a huge letdown. And
honestly, I mean, you see the injuries, Braxton Miller and JT Barrett, but once Cardale Jones took over, everything went right for them. I mean, basically whatever they did, they succeeded in. Like the Cardale Jones just trucking over people up the middle. I mean, that worked for those few games.
Well, it really only worked for those 3 games.
Yeah.
Against Wisconsin for the title, and then for the Big Ten title, and then the 2 playoff games. But then the next season, Cardale Jones, starter coming out of fall camp, and he's garbage. And that team is still good. I mean, the team's still good this year.
I mean, they had Ezekiel Elliott, so they were good that year with Cardale Jones.
The team is good this year, but I don't think, once again, they're going to be somewhere in the 5 to 10 range. And that is not where Ohio State wants to be.
Ohio State wants to be clearing away number 1.
And if Urban Meyer is going to be considered one of the top coaches, you've got to consistently make the playoffs. It's just part of the deal. Alabama's been able to do it. Clemson's looking like they're going to be able to do it. We'll see about Michigan once Jim Harbaugh gets a full recruiting class. But yeah, I think Urban Meyer's on his way down. And I'm curious to see how much longer he'll stay at Ohio State. Because knowing him,
Notre Dame comes calling.
Well, and it wouldn't be horrible because that's the job he wanted, right?
Right.
He wanted the Notre
grew
Dame
up
job.
a Notre Dame fan from Ohio is what has been reported.
Yeah. He always wanted the Notre Dame job, and he got the UF job. I don't remember what happened with that. Did he get the UF job before the Notre Dame job opened?
I think it was something like that, and then is that when they ended up hiring Charlie Weiss?
Or was that when they were deciding between Urban Meyer and Charlie Weiss, and they picked Charlie Weiss?
I think that's what happened. They ended up picking Charlie Weiss, and then Urban Meyer went to UF.
That was a bad pick. Oops.
Do-over? Nope.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. This is about when Urban Meyer starts thinking about leaving it. His career would.
His career trajectory seems.
He'll lose JT Barrett this year, right?
Unless he comes back for his senior year, but he's draft eligible this year, so I'd have to believe he ends up leaving.
I don't know. He's been so bad this year. He may want to improve his stock. Anyway, this was supposed to be a topic about Clemson. Clemson's for real. Dabo seems like he's for real, which I'm glad. I like Dabo. He's mostly a good guy. He said some things that I find asinine.
But his players love him, and he supports his players a lot.
Yes, I don't like some of the comments he's made about paying the players and how it's actually ridiculous. But that's just part of it. He's a good guy. Did you see the report that came out about Ohio State and their
no, I have
football
not.
Team? Hang on a second. Fill dead air. Just start singing a song or something.
I'm singing. I'm in a store and I'm singing. I'm in a store and I'm singing.
That's Elf, right? Okay,
it is.
I found it. Report came out. Ohio State football program valued at $1.5 billion. And I believe it was a backup quarterback that came out and was like, wow, still can't afford to pay the players, huh? And this is sort of a larger discussion that we don't need to get into today because we probably don't have time. I actually don't really, very quickly, what are your feelings on paying players?
I think it's very, very complicated because it's not a one, because some schools, if you had to pay the players, then they won't have a football program.
Well, and
then there's also the argument like, well, what do you do about the tennis players? What do you do about baseball? What do you do about basketball? What do you do about, women's basketball? What do you do about softball? All this stuff.
That part of it, I think, is very easy. If it's a sport. So the complicated part is there's it's either half or a third. I don't remember the report, but there's a huge chunk of Division I football programs that lose money.
Right.
And I understand that those programs can't pay players. That part makes it complicated. The whole, well, if I pay a football player, do I need to pay a member of the swim team? That's absurd to me.
Well, but...
No, but the football program makes money. The swim team doesn't make money. So we'll just put this in real world example.
Can you say lawsuits?
Why?
Because are you going to say, oh, well, this football player is making like $20K now and the swim team person isn't making anything at all, so there's going to be lawsuits. Like, you can't expect there not being lawsuits.
What would the lawsuit be? You can't just say there would be lawsuits.
Well, there's going to...
The swim team isn't making money, right?
Not necessarily. It depends on the school. It's not like an apples to apples argument, because there's some schools that don't make any money on football and don't even have football. There's some schools.
My point is, if you're on a swim team that makes money, you should be paid. If you're a superstar college swimmer, if you're I don't know swimming, but if you're the Michael
Katie
Phelps,
Ledecky.
If you're Katie Ledecky should be paid. Absolutely, she should be paid. Isn't she? She's not allowed to take sponsorships and stuff because she's still going to Stanford, right?
Yeah, she's going to Stanford.
That's actually a joke.
She didn't have to go to Stanford. She chose to go to Stanford.
She should have dropped out. That wasn't.
smart.
She would have gotten so many endorsement deals.
She still probably will.
Assuming she keeps her greatness.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff can fade quickly, especially in Olympic sports. But if you are a swimmer and you make your school a significant amount of money, you should be entitled to some of that money. This is the argument. I don't like the whole, well, if you pay the football players, you got to play the tennis players because both of them are student athletes. Football players are technically student athletes. It's basically a farm system.
Well, yeah, I think that's based off the NFL. Collegiate as a whole, you're a student athlete because most of the players that play in college don't actually go pro. The NFL is the one, because baseball, there's minor league baseball.
Yes.
NBA, there's the G League. You can play overseas. It's the NFL that's really the issue. The NFL,
yes, but the NCAA loves it because they get to keep all the money. If there was a true amateur football system, the NCAA would do everything in their power to fight it, right? Because if that happened, all the star players would go play in that league. They wouldn't come to the colleges. And guess what? The colleges aren't making the football money. I don't like this idea of Ohio State football program is valued at a level an NFL franchise would be, and the players are making the equivalent of $30,000 a year. That seems wrong to me, personally. We can have this argument another time though, because it's very clear we disagree, so it would be a long argument. And there's no need to have it. I just find it absurd. I'll just put it in a real world example. If I'm a software developer, if I made something for my company that ended up netting us $1 billion and I wasn't compensated appropriately, I'd have a real problem with that. If I was making 25, 30 grand a year and I created something that netted the company billions and billions of dollars, I would be mad.
Yes, but that happens in the real world all the time.
Which is why people who are software developers make more than 25, 30 grand. That's the point.
Yeah.
You're paid appropriately based on what you bring to an organization.
And then honestly, there's some of
So
those
that's-
people that play football that they want to go to college, and that's their way to go to college, and then they get a job after that.
That's
Not
fine.
everybody is Ezekiel
That's fine.
Elliott
But
that makes like millions in the NFL. that-
obviously. But so if you think about a college as an organization, which it basically is, especially at the top, at the highest level, the swimmers don't bring as much to the program as football players, and the backups and kickers and role players don't bring as much to the program as the star players. They just don't. That's how it works. The football players that are riding the bench, they're on a scholarship, they're going to go be a nuclear engineer after this is all over, and they're just here for the ride. They love football, they want to play. Those guys are not bringing as much to the organization of the college as Ezekiel Elliott.
So how do you solve, same example, Ohio State, the Cardale Jones situation? JT Barrett was the starter the whole season. Cardale Jones comes in and wins them a national championship. How do you solve that?
It's the same issue as having a rookie deal in the NFL. How do you solve the Dak Prescott issue? Tony Romo's making a bunch of money. Dak Prescott comes in making rookie salary, a couple mil, and he's really, really great. Dak
There
Prescott
used to
deserves-
not be a salary cap in the NFL for rookies. They changed that in the collective bargaining agreement. Because Sam Bradford was the last quarterback
Yes,
to have an
but that
uncapped rookie deal.
That was for the first rounders. That wasn't for Dak Prescott.
Well, yeah, Dak Prescott had a fourth round grade.
that
I mean,
was-
anybody could have taken him in the first round, and they didn't.
Okay. I don't understand your point. Cardale
Well,
Jones.
yeah.
Cardale Jones was obviously worse than JT Barrett, at least as far as the coaches were concerned. Otherwise, Cardale Jones would have been starting. I don't understand your point.
Well, I
If-
don't
if
understand
you're
your
a-
Dak Prescott example.
you're-
I mean, he was a fourth round pick, and that's
Okay,
what they're
here's the example. then.
capped.
If you're a 5-star player, you're gonna theoretically be more value than a 4-star player. The valuations could be wrong, aka Dak Prescott. But the 4-star player would not theoretically be as valuable coming in as the 5-star player. Right?
Right.
So in this example, Dak Prescott would have been 4-star player. Sam Bradford would have been 5-star player. Obviously, we know which of those ends up being more valuable, but Dak Prescott is making less than Sam Bradford right now.
Yeah.
That part you can't fix.
Well, no, because I mean, Sam Bradford's been in the league longer and has been a free agent twice. So yes,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Rookies and freshmen.
it's more of an example of Cam Newton because there was a rookie scale for his draft, whereas Sam Bradford was like the last one that he just basically named his price and the Rams had to sign him.
Yeah, same thing with Matt Stafford.
Yeah, with Matt Stafford. Yeah.
I don't understand why that has anything to do with college players. I don't understand how that.
Well, 'cause
Anyway,
you brought the Dak Prescott example up. Fourth round picks are capped at a certain
because
price.
you brought
yeah.
up the Cardale Jones.
Well, yeah, because so say you pay JT Barrett and he's does nothing, but you're still paying him, and it's not like you just randomly find the money for Cardale Jones. It's not like you just like,
No,
oh well, we're
you're
gonna
not.
back up the truck. There has to be a structure if you're gonna pay players.
Yes, I
Yeah.
didn't say just pay everyone.
Well,
I
I
didn't-
mean, there's
I'm not
like
here
so
with
you
the-
say like the 5-star recruit. He comes in, he makes 30 grand.
Okay.
There's the senior who's actually the starter, but he came in as a 4-star recruit, but he wins the job. So his backup's making 30 grand, and then the senior who's like leading them somewhere, say,
Okay.
is making like 15.
Easy solution. Step 1: all years are 1-year deals. Done. That problem is no longer.
So what about the situations like Grayson Lambert and Jacob Eason at Georgia, where Jacob Eason's the 5-star recruit, but Grayson Lambert's the starter? It didn't work out that way, but say Grayson Lambert starts all year and he makes 10, and then the guy who rides the Pine, who does nothing, makes like 30.
That's just part of it. I don't understand. There are backups that make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem in that.
Well,
The
I
ol-
think the way to solve this is if you're going to pay players, then just have them eligible out of high school, draft eligible. Just do it.
You can't do that though.
Why not? You used to
their
do that
body-
in the NBA.
Because Weston, you know their bodies aren't ready. In the NBA, you can get away with not being all the way filled out. Kristaps Porzingis, his body is not all the way developed. He still has weight to put on. There are guys. Ben Simmons is still growing.
Yeah.
In the NBA, you can get away with that. You can't get away with that in the NFL. You can't put some 18-year-old offensive lineman in the NFL. That doesn't work.
Well,
there
then,
has to be an amateur system of some kind.
well, yeah, exactly. That's why, like, it just depends on the position and the player. So it's like the 5-star recruits, they go straight pro.
No,
That's how
Would
it
you like to
works in
know
the basketball. That's
they're
how it
different
works.
sports. Is
I
my
know. I'm
point.
trying to like bring
You
up an
can't-
argument.
No, here's what you need to do, and we've actually talked about this before, is you just need to create an amateur football league. You need some sort of league where if players think they have a legit shot in the NFL, they go play in that league. You have the baseball system, basically. You go pro in
And
a
you're
minor
able-
league.
And yeah, and if you don't sign after you're drafted, you're able to come back to school or whatever, or amateur league, whatever you want to do. That's why, like, I don't like the NFL system where it's like if you declare, you declare.
That's absurd.
Yeah, that's
I'm with
absurd.
that.
Yeah, for real. Like,
That's
if
an
like
actual
Brad
joke.
Kaya should be able to go back to Miami after he was a 7th-round pick by the Lions
That's
when he had a 2nd-round grade.
the NBA because oh god, the Kentucky coach
Calipari.
Thank you, Calipari. All of his players declare because in the NBA you're allowed to come back to school, or for basketball.
Yeah, they
You're
all
allowed to go
declare,
back to
and then
school.
they have like that deadline, and then
Yeah. Well, they get their. You're right. They declare. They get their grades, and then they
after
go
like
back
the
to school. You're right,
combines and
you're
different stuff.
right.
So
It's a little different.
it's a
My
little
bad.
different, but yeah, it's like it's similar. It's better than what the NFL does. If you declare, then you're just done.
Will you at least go with me in step one of this whole process, which the NCAA has talked about doing, is college players should absolutely be allowed to take endorsement deals. That's like the definition of a oh gosh, I'll just say free market. I can't think of the word I'm
Okay.
thinking of. But where if you're really good, sponsors will want you.
Right.
Like you're cool with that. And that's something the NCAA has talked about doing.
Yeah,
is-
like to a degree, like the whole AJ Green getting suspended for selling his jersey thing. I thought that was ridiculous. Like
but
he should
even
be able to
beyond
like
that,
do
I don't
stuff
care
like that.
I don't care if Lamar Jackson's in commercials. I think
Yeah.
he should be allowed to be in commercials. It's his success that has made him popular
Right.
and is making money for the university.
No,
of
yeah, I'm
Louisville.
okay with stuff like
Okay,
that. Yeah.
okay. I also think it's a joke that players don't make money from their own jersey sales. That should change.
Yeah, like I'm totally fine with
okay.
somebody doing stuff like that, like going to trade shows and doing autographs and just
Okay.
different junk.
We'll take
like,
a
yeah.
nice step one there of agreement. The other, because I understand your argument isn't that you disagree with me. Your argument is that we need a solution, right?
Right.
No one has been able to put forth a reasonable solution to this problem.
Right. I don't think like Jalen Hurts should be getting like $2 million or something just right out of the gate from University of Alabama because he's the quarterback of Alabama. Stuff like that.
Right. I don't think Alabama in this bizarro fantasy world. I don't think Alabama would be paying up at quarterback, but I understand your argument.
Yes.
I do think there's a lot of complaining, and I'm with it. Like Jay Billis talks about this a lot, and I usually agree with him. But no one has proposed a really, really good solution. Because I think it's silly that like NCAA kickers are being asked to choose between their YouTube channel or football. Like, I don't remember what team he
No,
played
that's
for,
like-
but there was a kicker where the NCAA told him, and he had a popular YouTube channel. He made, I don't know, probably a couple grand a month on his YouTube channel, and they said no more.
Oh
and
yeah.
that's a joke. These players basically can't have jobs, which means they don't have spending money. They have some stipend money now that they're allowed to get, but that's only, I don't know.
It covers like food and living expenses, stuff like that.
And like Alabama gives their players, colleges are allowed to give money stipends now, but it's only maybe a couple grand for a semester, and that's your entire spending money for the whole semester because you can't have a job because you're a football player. You don't have time to have a job. Like, I don't know. I think when I see something like Ohio State is valued at $1.5 billion, and maybe it's more like this thing that coaches and former college players do. Like Mike Golick does it a lot. We both like Mike Golick, but he says what are you talking about? They aren't getting paid. They are getting paid. They're given an education.
Yeah.
And while I understand that an education is not liquid money, you should be able to do. How about this then? You play for a college team, you can choose. Do you want the education or do you want the cost of the education in cash? There's one solution. And that's not a great solution, but
No.
it's something. but I mean, there's a difference between, yes, I have this degree that would have cost me 80 grand, but I really could have used 80 grand. Like, especially when most or a lot of degrees and economists and experts out there are saying that college degrees are starting to not be worth what they cost. Like the return on investment is not good enough and you'd be better off with just the cash. Like you start having that argument as the value of a college degree drops. I don't know. I think it's an interesting argument that we should have at a later date.
That's an interesting.
I've heard that several places.
That's interesting
because tuition is getting more and more and more.
Oh yeah.
The return on investment of the tuition is getting less and less, and eventually, if the trends keep going, getting a college degree will be more expensive than.
Well, because there's so many different things, like different jobs where you just have to have a college degree, where before, like, you didn't even need one for.
Well, it's that. It's basically everyone is told you have to go to college.
Yeah.
And its tuitions are going up insanely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's like a political American problem that needs to get sorted out, but we're not going to talk about that on this show. But eventually, if the trends continue, it will not be worth it to get a degree. And then people will stop getting them because they don't want to be 200 grand in debt.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's end on the agreeing note that we think players should be allowed to get endorsement deals. Can we handshake on that?
We can handshake on that.
Okay. ELE. Everybody love everybody. That sounds like we need to have a whole show. I need to do some prep work for. Talk for an hour and a half about why college players should be compensated more than a degree. Anyway, what's next?
The Bradley solo podcast as he argues with himself as I stare off into the distance, sulking.
I wasn't arguing with myself. I was arguing with you, but I was taking most of the airtime.
Yeah, as I just sat there.
Just call me Stephen A. Smith. Call you Max Kellerman.
I'll just sit here in my place, and then except there's the difference. I don't go like, very eloquently said, Stephen A. That's beautiful.
It would have made me feel really good.
That's beautiful. I agree wholeheartedly, except I need to argue, so I'm going to disagree.
I have to argue. Okay, what's next? Let's get away from this college talk.
Well, we have a lot of football topics we were going to talk about, so we could try to throw a few of those in here in our remaining, 15 minutes if we want to max this thing out.
Let's do it. Let's do it. It's my bad.
All right, so want to do the not just fantasy football, just football in general. Positive surprise, and then surprise on the negative side.
Okay, so we're two weeks in. Week 3 is going to be next week, and generally around this time, you start seeing trends. Like one surprise I have is that the Raiders are for real. I have
You're welcome.
Been alone on this island of the Raiders won a lot of close games last year, and they wouldn't make the playoffs this year. I thought their defense was suspect. I thought Derek Carr was gonna regress a little bit. I thought he had a lot of lucky games last year. That O-line's another year older. I didn't think Lynch was going to be very good. Basically, every thought I had about the Raiders was wrong. Their O-line is still great. It's probably the second best in football. Lynch is still really good.
He's doing what he needs to do.
Well, and the last time we saw Lynch play 2 years ago, he looked bad. And I know he was banged up. Then he took a year off, and everyone was like, yeah, now he's fresh. And I said, yeah, but now he's old because he's a running back at 31. And with his running style, those guys don't last long. But he looks like 4 years ago Marshawn Lynch. He looks great.
Oh, he does.
I hope they keep him on a pitch count because they'll need him in the playoffs. They need him to stay fresh. But so far, he looks great. Derek Carr. If I had to vote for MVP right now, it'd probably be Derek Carr. Crabtree, still playing out of his mind. He might be better than Amari Cooper right now. Amari Cooper is playing really well, though.
Amari Cooper's been playing like amazing. It's just like Crabtree.
Here's my surprise of the year. Jared Cook. Jared Cook is having his best season of his career so far. I told Deborah to pick him up in our fantasy league, and she's starting Jared Cook this week.
All right, my boy Jared Cook.
Like that's my surprise. It's my positive surprise is the whole Raiders. Do you want me to give my negative, or do you want to do your positive?
I mean, I could do my positive.
Do your positive. I've taken enough airtime recently.
Yeah, you've taken quite a bit of airtime.
You got me going, man.
I know.
I'm usually not a big talker, but when I talk about something I'm passionate about and I have a lot to say, I'm going to talk.
I mean, clearly, we all just heard.
Players should be paid. Okay, go on. Woo. We need some now.
Oh my
here's what
gosh, we need sound effects for this stuff.
We need some sort of drop when I get going on a tangent, and you just want me to stop.
I just need to like hit an alarm or something. Just
go ahead.
Bring you back in.
What's your positive surprise?
My positive surprise is I went more particular players.
Yeah, that's fine.
Tariq Cohen, that man came out of pretty much nowhere.
Tariq Cohen, it's only 2 weeks in, but he looks
really good.
So, would you like to talk about Tariq Cohen? Because I have things to say.
You have things to say? He's very small. He's 5'6", 180 pounds. But because of really all the injuries that have happened on Chicago's offense, he's really Chicago's offense at this point. He's really their primary pass-catching option. And now, if Jordan Howard is still banged up, which he hasn't looked too great this year, he's going to be really the entire offense. It's him and Kendall Wright. So Mike Glennon really doesn't have a lot to work with, so I expect Tariq Cohen to keep doing big things.
He looks really good through 2 weeks. My problem with him is his size. It's very, very rare that guys that small can last.
It's really
he
Darren Sproles is it.
He plays running back, but even Darren Sproles, he's small, but if you look at him, he's thick. He's thickly built, and he's really low to the ground. Sort of like Jaquiz Rogers.
Yeah.
Like Jaquiz Rogers is really small, but he's so low built to the ground and pretty stocky.
He's got tree trunks.
Legs. Like Cohen is just small. He doesn't have tree trunks for legs. He looks like a college slot receiver, and he's great. He looks fantastic so far. I worry about his durability at the running back position. I think at this point they're going to use him as a slot receiver. I don't think they're going to be running him between the tackles, nor should they.
No, they should not.
But yeah, Cohen looks great so far this year. What's your negative?
My negative is the Arizona Cardinals. They do not look they do not look good. I know David Johnson going down, that really hurts things, but I mean honestly,
even before he went down they looked bad.
They looked real bad. Yeah, cuz David Johnson didn't have a typical David Johnson kind of game, and that whole offense just I mean, J.J. Nelson looks like he's kind of bursting onto the scene because John Brown is
Jaron Brown has been really good. Even John Brown played week 1 and he looked really good, but then he got hurt again. Larry Fitzgerald still looks pretty good. I agree. That was actually a team that I thought was going to make the playoffs this year.
Have a nice bounce back year and everything.
Carson Palmer is a borderline Hall of Famer. I thought he was really bad last year, but he was banged up, and I thought he would be better this year. I guess this is just proof that when you have an old quarterback that looks bad one year, you shouldn't assume he's going to be better the next year because he's another year older. Looking back, that seems obvious. But I thought they were going to be a wild card team. I really did.
I mean, the talent on that roster is
on both sides of the ball.
Both sides of the ball is crazy. It's just now it's starting to look more like, well, you don't have a bell cow running back right now. David Johnson may be back in December. I don't know. But you also have an old quarterback, and you still have some good receivers, but he can't really get them the ball consistently. The O-line doesn't necessarily look that great either. and that defense is going to be on the field a whole heck of a lot.
Now, his deep ball looked better in week 2 than it did in week 1. He hit J.J. Nelson deep on a couple plays. But yeah, the arm strength isn't all there. He looks, I blame Carson Palmer mostly for this team not looking great. And their D-line. They have a
Chandler
pretty
Jones.
decent D-line, and it hasn't been getting to the quarterback like you would expect it to. That's a good one. I agree with you.
Thank you.
My negative is the San Diego Chargers. Now,
The
they're
Los
0-2.
Angeles Chargers now.
Oh God,
It's okay. Every time I
I'm
see
gonna be doing it all year.
every time I see the abbreviation LAC,
I think
I'm
of the
like the
Clippers.
Clippers.
Yeah.
Like what?
That's my bad. Good catch. That
No problem.
we need a drop for that too. Every time one of us does
Boom.
that. Okay, the Los Angeles Chargers. I was wondering why you're looking at me like that. 0-2. Both games were winnable, and their rookie kicker missed what would have been the game winner on both kicks. But just, it's surprising that Phillip Rivers is in this situation again. Every season, he's got a great team around him, and I love Phillip Rivers. He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh
He's
yeah.
great. He's a great quarterback. But every year he's in this situation where his team is in close games and they can't win. And a lot of times it's Phillip Rivers' fault, forcing a ball, throwing an interception. So far this year, he's put his team in a position to win 2 weeks in a row, and they can't do it. And I feel bad for it. Like, it's shocking to me. I thought the Chargers were going to be better this year, and they still could be. We're early on, but so far, not looking good.
No, they aren't looking good, and it's just the whole joke of Phillip Rivers' entire life is pretty much one possession game, length of the field to go, no timeouts.
That was
a minute
week
on the
2.
clock.
That was week 2. And what did he do? He got his team in field goal range. It was like a 45-yard field goal. If you're an NFL kicker, you have to make that kick.
You know who'd make that kick?
Lambeau?
Josh Lambeau would make that kick.
Look, I don't want to
Yeah,
make assumptions like that because they're
because I think that kick actually got deflected.
Young Wei Koo.
Young Hoku.
Young Ho. No.
Young Hoku.
I think it's Young Wei Koo. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh well.
Well,
I don't
it
know.
does matter. It's his name.
It's his name.
That
Sorry, I don't.
That was.
I haven't watched any Chargers games, just highlights. So.
Anyway, he won the job. Like, he was great in preseason, great in training camp. He's been great in the games.
Yeah, he has. It's just like
these game winners he keeps missing.
And I feel bad for him, and I think the one against the Broncos, from what I saw, it was like kind of deflected anyway.
Yeah. I don't think that one was his fault. It was
the first one.
The Dolphins one was
Yeah.
absolutely his fault.
So I feel bad for them, but it's just that's just the Chargers. It seems like, I mean, no matter what they do, they always have this kind of bad luck that surrounds them.
Thankfully, so far this year, it hasn't been the injury bug. Because usually
yeah.
the Chargers get hit by the injury bug more than any team in the NFL, and they've been pretty healthy so far. If they stay healthy, I still think they can make a wild card. But right now, it's looking like the Broncos are for real, and the Chiefs are real good. So, yeah, I'd be worried if I was a Chargers fan. The LA Chargers.
I mean, there's only like, what, 10,000? Isn't that how many
Not
they
a lot.
had
So
in their first game in LA?
So for those of you who don't know, the Chargers play in an MLS stadium that holds about 30,000 people. And reports are that it was about half full. That's sad. That is pathetic. That is... If you needed proof that NFL franchises are starting to value TV revenue significantly more than in-stadium revenue, I don't know what evidence you need other than the fact that the Chargers are perfectly fine having 15,000 people at a home game. Like, that's a baseball turnout. That's nothing.
That's a bad baseball turnout. Let me tell you that.
That's nothing. And I haven't seen crowds that small at a pro stadium since USF played in Raymond James.
Heyo. And honestly, I don't think it's going to get any better for them because what you saw on social media and just reports and everything from LA, nobody wanted the Chargers. Like, if anything,
Nobody
they wanted.
cares about the Chargers.
No, because I mean, the people in San Diego cared about the Chargers, but there weren't really
But even
LA
in-
Chargers fans.
To be fair, even in San Diego, from what I've heard, their turnouts weren't amazing. They were
But
better than 15,000.
because I mean, they had a 60,000 plus seat stadium to fill up, and I mean, they didn't have great turnouts, but it was more than 15,000.
And the Rams are having this issue too in LA, where no one went to their home opener.
No,
It was like half full. They had more people than the Chargers, but still very, very empty.
and then there's all the reports from LA of all the fans being super happy because the Raiders games are only going to be 4 hours away in Vegas, so they're going to drive over to LA.
Oh,
Ooh.
man. I think LA really just wanted the Raiders.
Honestly, that's really most of the people in LA that are still football fans. From my understanding and different reports from what I've seen, they're Raider
I've
fans.
seen the same thing. The Raiders are the dominant, popularity-wise, team of California
Oh yeah,
in the NFL.
pretty much entire West Coast is really Oakland Raiders.
Or the 49ers. The 49ers
Yeah,
have a good following.
My bad on that. My bad. Bay Area teams.
No, you're right. You're right. It's all good. Okay. Well,
So we have any revised Super Bowl picks?
Okay,
Speaking
okay.
of the Oakland Raiders,
So to flashback, my Super Bowl pick was Packers over Steelers, and yours was
I think it was Cowboys and Raiders. I picked the Cowboys to win.
So right now we're both not looking great.
No.
The Steelers haven't looked amazing. Their defense, which should be better this year, hasn't been great. Le'Veon Bell's been bad. That O-line's been bad. Ben Roethlisberger doesn't look the same. He's been pushing down the ball down the field a little bit, but it hasn't been great. I was counting on the high-flying offense from the Steelers to get them to a Super Bowl, and that's not looking right. The Packers, once again, are having injury issues. So right now they're down both of their tackles. Jordy Nelson's banged up. Randall Cobb's banged up. Their defense is still atrocious.
They're relying a ton on Ty Montgomery. Martellus Bennett hasn't looked the best.
And if you rely on Ty Montgomery too much, he's going to get hurt because he's a converted wide receiver and he's not used to this workload. I'm worried about the Packers. When they get their offensive line back, when Jordy comes back, it's one of those things where it's Aaron Rodgers. Don't lose faith. I mean, he should have gone to a Super Bowl playing on one leg with injuries all over the field. So I still believe in Aaron Rodgers. Their game against the Falcons was not great last week, but they were down a lot of players, and it ended up being a decent game. If their defense had made a stop, they may have actually come back in that game.
Right.
Like, I remember you were over watching the game, and in the fourth quarter, you were about to leave, and then it was a game again because the Packers scored.
You're like,
and it was,
we've all been here before.
It's a 2-score game with 8 minutes to go. This is doable.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, it felt like the Super Bowl again. But then, the difference is the Patriots had a good defense last year, and the Packers have an atrocious defense. So yeah. How are you feeling about your picks? The Raiders are looking good, but
the Raiders looking really good. So I'm still pretty confident in Oakland making the Super Bowl on the AFC side. Yeah, Dallas had a dud of a week in week 2. That was not good. They had a really poor performance against the Broncos, and honestly, the Broncos are looking like a much better team than many of us expected, especially on offense.
And it's mostly because of Trevor Siemian. Trevor
Right.
Siemian's been great so far this year.
And he knows his role. He knows, hey, I can't turn the ball over. Like, that's when you really get hurt, is when you turn the ball over.
But even then, he is pushing the ball down the field. It's not like he's Mr. Checkdown. He is pushing the ball down the field, and he's got 2 talented wide receivers to play with.
Oh, yeah. That offense, it seems to be rolling, and then the defense, we all kind of, at least me and you, expected it. Hey, the defense is another year older. Some of those guys
lost
getting old.
TJ Ward.
Lost TJ Ward, Aqib Talib. I mean, how many years can he keep doing this?
He's already like 32.
And apparently we're wrong.
That defense is still top notch. Best trio of corners in the NFL, in my opinion. If you include Bradley Roby, the D line is still great. Their linebackers are okay. They're not amazing.
I mean, it's Von Miller and everybody else. So
But well, I consider Von Miller a part of the D line.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pass rusher,
He,
so.
all he does is pass rush, and he's the best in the league at it. So that's fine. Yeah, their defense is still real good. They shut the Cowboys down. They made the best offensive line maybe in the history of the NFL look
really bad.
Like that Dallas offensive line over the past 3 years is, I would argue, in at least in our lifetime from the football we've watched, is the best pro offensive line I've ever seen.
I definitely agree with that.
On paper and on tape. And they looked bad. They looked real bad. La'el Collins looked overmatched. Travis Frederick didn't look great. Zach Martin, who's the best guard in football, didn't look great.
Look good.
It was tough. Yeah, I'd be worried if I was a Cowboys fan.
They still have plenty of time, but
it's week 2.
It's week 2.
It's overreactions. All of these statements are overreactions.
Prisoner of the moment right now, yeah. But
the Steelers could score 40 this week.
Right, and then Dak Prescott could light it up, and then Zeke end up scoring 3 touchdowns, have 25 carries, 200 yards, something ridiculous like that.
The Zeke things are completely overblown. People are talking about Zeke being a bust. Like, that's absurd. That's just absurd.
I mean, if he has a down year, I mean, a lot of people have down years their sophomore seasons or whatever. But
well, and a down year for him could be 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Exactly.
He was the best running back in football last year.
I mean, he garnered some MVP attention over there. So
yeah,
I may revise my pick.
If you had to pick a new Super Bowl champion, who would you pick right now? The Raiders?
I pick the Raiders.
Yeah, me too.
Yep, there it is. You've joined the dark side.
Super overreaction. The first 2 weeks, the best team in the AFC has been the Raiders. And the best team in the NFC? Falcons?
That's what I would have to pick right now. If I had to put money on it, I'd pick Falcons and Raiders.
Because the Falcons didn't look great week 1. But new offensive coordinator, got to get the ball rolling a little bit. Week 2, that offense looked clicking. Like last year.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like MVP Matt Ryan. The running backs are incredible. Julio Jones is great. Sanu's great. The only guy that's still missing is Gabriel. But we'll see if he ends up making more of an impact as the season goes along. But week 2... it's looking like Raiders over Falcons. I'm shocked by that. That's why it was my surprise. But I'm glad. I've said it before. I love the Raiders. I don't know if there's a single player on the Raiders I don't like. I love Marshawn Lynch. I really like Derek Carr. I love Amari Cooper. I love Michael Crabtree.
Khalil Mack is the best defensive player in football, in my opinion.
He's top 3. It'd be an argument between him, Aaron Donald, and Von Miller, in my opinion. Those are the 3 most elite defensive players. You could maybe throw Kuechly in there, but it's those 3, and then everyone else.
J.J. Watt, but he just hasn't looked the same with the back.
Yeah. The only other one I would even want to throw in that discussion is Patrick Peterson, who's the best corner in football. But I think those 4, if I'm going to make it 4, Kuechly, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, and Khalil Mack. And Khalil Mack, of those 4, is the most versatile.
Oh, yeah.
He can play inside linebacker. He can play outside linebacker. He's good in coverage. He's one of the best pass rushers in the league. He's one of the best tacklers in the league. He's amazing. I love Khalil Mack. It's the reason we both picked him to be Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know if that's going to happen. We're 2 weeks in. I don't know who has the best defensive numbers. Maybe Aaron Donald, honestly. He's been a beast.
But I mean, he's only played 1 game, though.
Oh, well.
So
a good game. Wait.
Yeah, he was held out week 1. Remember, he was still holding out.
So he's played 2 games because he played last night.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I forgot about the Thursday night game. That's my bad.
He looked real good. That as much as I don't like Thursday night football, the thing I do like is the fact that it's not like watching, because I usually watch Red Zone, so it's flipping through highlights. But when you get to just sit down and watch a game and just watch Aaron Donald for just 50 plays in a game, and 40 of the 50 plays, he just goes by his O-lineman and pushes him into the runner or into the quarterback. He's great. I love it.
And it doesn't matter who he's up against either. He just goes over him.
He is, popularity-wise, probably the most underappreciated defensive player in football. Gonna throw that out there.
I'm with you.
I mean, fans know Khalil Mack. They know They definitely know Von Miller. He's
everywhere.
He put on the best defensive performance I've ever seen in a Super Bowl. People know Luke Kuechly. People don't know Aaron Donald. People don't realize how amazing he is.
People don't really pay attention to the Rams. I mean, even since they moved out to LA, people just don't pay attention to the Rams.
Aaron Donald, is he still on his rookie deal?
He is still on his rookie deal.
If Aaron Donald retired today, he'd get my vote for Hall of Famer. Like, that's how great he is.
That's why he took out that big insurance policy and came back to playing football. He was holding out, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to get this big insurance policy, and I'm going to protect myself.
Yeah, that's smart. He's a smart dude.
He's going to get franchise tagged in the offseason, but then he's going to get paid by either the Rams or somebody else a year after that.
He's going to get Von Miller money, and he deserves it.
Oh, he definitely deserves it.
Go get yours, Aaron Donald. Go get yours. We stand behind you.
Atlanta Falcons are going to come calling, let me tell you that.
No, they have Dontari Poe. Why would they pay
on a 1-year deal?
Oh, that's true. Well, I mean, if he plays great, they're probably going to want to re-sign him.
Yeah. You can have Aaron Donald and Dontari Poe. That's fine.
If you want a horrible salary cap situation.
And Vic Beasley, it's fine.
You're going to put 30% of your salary cap into the D-line. Okay, New York Jets.
Hey, that offense is clicking, though.
It is. Okay, well, I think we're way over. I haven't seen the clock.
We're at 1:17, so there may be.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, NFL wise? It's been the games have been okay so far this year. They haven't been great. They've been pretty good. Yeah.
That's pretty much it. The Raiders are for real. Watch out for the Dolphins. And
watch out for the Dolphins.
The Dolphins.
You think the Dolphins are for real?
They're coming.
I don't think they're going to make
Fins are coming.
No.
I think they might be a wild card team.
I would have said that they could make the playoffs pretty easily just because the bottom half of their division is so bad. That's like 4 automatic wins. But the Bills have been better than I was expecting. By better, basically, I mean, I thought the Bills were going to tank, and they've been competitive.
Right.
And I think the Dolphins won't have 4 easy wins in the division.
Well, what's really going to hurt them is not having a bye week and then also having to play in London and not having a bye week. That's really tough. It's something that
now that you brought it up, we're just going to extend the show a little bit.
Go for it.
London, thoughts?
Hate it.
Agreed.
If you thought Thursday night games were bad, the London games are awful every year.
The London games are like a Thursday night game with the lack of preparation, and then throw in jet lag.
In a city that nobody really wants to play in. Like, I mean, it's cool if you go to London like once. The Jaguars and Dolphins seem to be there like every season, and you kind of get tired of it after a while. And I mean, I hate that the game starts at like 9:30 in the morning.
Well, I won't lie. I love that. So as a NFL fan of a team that does not go to London, I love the fact that I wake up and I turn a game on at 9:30 and then I go to bed at midnight. And that's it. That's all I do. I just move my normal NFL vegging out Sunday up 3.5 hours. I love it. That part of it. I don't like that the games are always bad because the teams aren't prepared. The teams are jet lagged. They're tired.
Playing in a soccer stadium, nothing's really the same.
And they're distracted.
Yeah.
I mean, they're distracted by the city of London, especially if it's their first time going there. They go sightseeing. A lot of the times they bring their families.
Yeah, it's really cool, that whole part of it. It's just the games are not great.
And if you're going to keep doing this whole... I understand the idea of it is the NFL is like, we are the number one sport domestically, but we're getting crushed internationally by baseball and the NBA. We need to do something to increase the popularity because other countries, maybe other than Canada, don't really watch the NFL. Some in England, obviously, because they always fill out that stadium, but they need desperately to increase their product internationally, especially if kids are going to stop playing football in America because of concussions and CTE, which is something
gonna
we
have to
didn't
need
talk about. But anyway, Aaron Hernandez has CTE. That was kind of a natural progression. Don't know if it caused a suicide or the murders or anything like that. But Aaron Hernandez had very, very late stage, I guess you would call it.
I think he was
He had
stage 3 of
severe-
4.
He had severe CTE, and they'd never seen someone with such bad CTE that was so young. That's just interesting. Anyway, there, we got that in since you tried to skip it on me.
I thought we were ending the show, and then we brought up London, so I'm like, all right, we're rolling with it.
I don't even remember what I was saying. If you're going to keep doing the international thing, you have to help the team somehow, whether it's strategically position their bye weeks, but then do you put it before the London game or after the London game? Like the Thursday night issue, I think there's an easy fix. You throw a bye week before every Thursday night game for the teams that are in it. Done. Every team has 2 bye weeks. Extend the season 1 week. That's an easy fix to make Thursday night games not dreadful most of the time. Because are they playing in Mexico City this year?
I don't. If they were, I think they probably canceled it because of the earthquake in Mexico City.
Well, I think the stadium's fine. I think I remember saying something about that.
Oh, okay, but I didn't.
Anyway,
I didn't think they were.
If they're going to keep trying to do these international games, they have to compensate the team somehow, and I don't mean financially, because I'm sure the owners are compensated financially.
Oh,
otherwise
absolutely.
they wouldn't agree to go.
That's why, like, Jacksonville is the home team in London, like, every year. The Rams were
The
doing
Dolphins
that for a
go
couple
every year,
years. Right. They're compensated for that.
And I don't want to say the players need to be compensated for it. I mean, they're supposed to work. They need to go out
It's
and do
their
their job
jobs, yeah.
regardless of where they're playing.
I mean, it's pretty much as bad as, like, Miami to Seattle or San Diego to Miami. That's pretty bad jet lag there too. So you can have that domestically. It's not as bad, but it's still bad in its own right.
I suppose. I don't know. I think the teams need to be somehow compensated, and not financially. I mean, like strategically.
There needs to be
position the
some
bye
benefit.
week, especially if you're losing a home game. Like if you're Jacksonville, how is this fair? You're gonna have 7 home games instead of 8. You need all the home games you can get because you're gonna be a fringe. You're trying to be a fringe wild card team. You need all the advantages you can get. Playing in London is not an advantage.
It's not an advantage. No, that's why you see a lot of times it's a team that a lot of people expect to be bad playing in London or something. Like the Rams, one of their rebuilding years.
I don't know if that's
in some cases.
If that's strategic or if that's just the Rams, Dolphins, and Jacksonville agreed to be the London teams, and they also just happened to be bad. Because Dolphins, I mean, they've thought they were going to be really good for a while now. The Jags have thought a year ago they were going to be a Super Bowl contender, and then Blake Bortles ended up being a complete bust. I don't know. London's weird. If it were up to me, they would just get rid of it. But obviously, you can't just do that.
You can't just get rid of it, and I think it's cool that the players get to go over there and all that different stuff.
It's cool for the international fans. Like, if I was an NFL fan and that lived in the UK, I would be thrilled I could go watch a game.
And there's a lot of those people that go like every year, and then all the Americans that live over in London, they go to that game pretty much every year. And that stadium's always packed. And I think it's really cool that they get to do that, but you just need to rework it. And I know with Hurricane Irma and everything coming through, the Dolphins couldn't really avoid it because, the neutral site option didn't get approved.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't. If you have both teams agreeing, both the Bucks and the Dolphins said, yeah, we would much rather just play at a neutral site this week than lose our bye week. And then the NFL's like, nah, you're going to lose your bye week. Take your bye week 1. It's
really stupid.
I haven't heard anything from Goodell about that. I would be interested to see.
You probably aren't going to hear anything from Goodell.
I don't even
on
understand
that
how it makes sense financially. Like, the only team that would be impacted significantly financially would be the Dolphins. and they were on board with going to a
Right,
neutral
exactly.
site because they so badly didn't want to lose their bye week.
Yeah, because I mean they have to go to London. Like, I mean, you don't want to play 11 straight games and have the whole wrinkle of going to London thrown in there when you think you're a playoff team. And
11 straight games? I mean 16 straight
yeah,
games?
sorry. I
It's
was
way
thinking
worse!
I know, so much worse. Oh my gosh.
I had no idea!
When did they add 6 more games?
They added 5 more games. There's 16
I
games.
know, I'm just messing with you.
What? Thought there were 17 games. Why is
this world crumbling?
Why does the season go to week 17 if there's only 16 games? So confused.
In all honesty, I knew their bye week was week 11, and then I was thinking week 11, and then it came out 11 straight games.
See, if they had their bye week 11, they would have played. Well, they would have played 10 straight games, but it would have been close to 11.
And then you would have had that bye week in the playoff push. So there you go. It was very strategic on getting that week 11 bye.
Well, I don't think they choose their bye.
They don't. They were probably happy about it. It's like, ooh, late season bye. Okay. Jay Ajayi can get a little rest, so he's not banged up.
If he stays healthy all year, I'm a little worried about him.
Yeah, I am too. I have him in a couple fantasy teams, but I'm hoping he's gonna be all right. I'm relying on him a lot.
My boy Jordan Howard needs to step it up. I have him in all of my leagues.
Yeah, see, you were the big believer in Jordan Howard, and I was like,
I wasn't
maybe
even
number
a big
12.
believer. I mean, in 2 of the 3 leagues, he just kind of fell to me because no one else believes in him, and I still think he can be okay. And then in my other league, some guy was desperate to get rid of him, so I lowballed the crap out of him and got him. So, James White, thank you for getting me Jordan Howard.
James White is going to become the focal point of the Patriots offense now.
He very much might. I don't know. They like Rex Burkhead a lot. And hey, Dion Lewis, he finally got to play week 2, and he looked pretty good.
And then don't forget about Gillislee getting all those short yardage carries.
Yeah, that's just how that goes.
I mean, the 4 running back system.
Oh, I hate the Patriots
unprecedented
for fantasy. I hate the Patriots for fantasy.
That's why I didn't trust any of them.
Ah!
It's proving me wrong.
Me either. I have no Patriots. Now that I traded James
Now you
White.
traded James White. Yeah, good call on that.
Well, James White was the last pick, and it's a 14-team PPR league, and he was my last pick.
I mean, that's not bad value for the last pick in your draft. I mean, the honorary Super Bowl MVP.
How did he not win Super Bowl MVP?
They always give it to Brady, man.
That's
They
a
always
joke.
give it to Brady.
I could understand when they beat Seattle giving it to him because they had to
tally the votes before Malcolm Butler happened, kind of thing.
Well, between that and Malcolm Butler made 1 play and Brady made a bunch of plays, but James White was the best player on that Patriots offense all game long. How does he? Anyway, we don't need to go back to that. 2 of the best catches in NFL history, and only 1 will be remembered. Sorry, bud.
Very sad.
Julio's catch.
Julio, I'll always remember.
If you don't remember Julio's catch from the Super Bowl, please look it up because it is amazing. And then remember, he's playing on a broken toe. It's amazing.
Just remember that it was a work of art. Julio Jones, you were an artist on the football field. Let me tell you. Anytime you want to come on the show, just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just fit it in with any of your 11 games you got to play. So it's fine.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
The Rollout Show, episode 27.
Episode 27.
Check out our website. We've got new articles going up soon. We're going to do NBA rankings. Weston's got his all NBA underpaid team coming out soon. We're going to show ESPN how to really do NBA rankings.
Where
because there's
Draymond Green isn't number 2 in the league or
and
whatever.
Kyrie's not 27. Spoilers, Kyrie's going to be much higher on our list. Yeah, check out that's therolloutsports.com. Check out our Twitter at The Rollout Show. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. That's all The Rollout Show. Yeah.
There's a lot of different avenues, but it's all The Rollout Show.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed us even during our first take argument.
The random spewing of different things that's how we ended up getting on paying college players.
I played the role
Clemson.
of Stephen A. Smith, just laying into Max Kellerman. I hope you enjoyed that. If you disagree with me, please tweet at us. I'd be happy to respond to you. I mean, our social media guy here will have to tell me that.
Y'all have to forward that along.
But I will absolutely respond if you want to have a quick Twitter argument about it.
And he'll try to fit it in within 140 characters.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, he won't be able to.
No, I'll end up sending like 8 tweets, but I'll only be replying to you in 2 of them. I don't know how to use social media, guys. I'm not all there.
Just going to be a picture, a screenshot of the notes on your phone, just replying. It's going to be like 4 paragraphs long.
I should just tweet out like a Word file. That's a great idea.
Yeah, you didn't know you could do that?
No. Well, I mean, I guess I would assume you could, but I've never done it before.
Oh, yeah. That's how you get past the 140 characters, man. When you really got to rant at somebody.
Genius!
You just send them a picture. Just let them have it in the notes.
Let them have it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
See ya.